Welcome back to Grow Your Own Vegetables, where our trusted teaching partners help you grow real food in any space, in every season. What if you could put fresh, homegrown food on your plate in just 7 days? No yard, no experience, not even a sunny window. Just a small space on a kitchen counter and one simple weekly routine. What you're about to watch is part 3 of a live talk Stacey Murphy gave at one of our past Grow Your Own Vegetables events, organized for gardeners just like you. Stacey is a master gardener who has taught this gentle approach to thousands of students on 6 continents. In this third part, Stacey shares the small indoor garden that started it all and the simple 7-day routine that gives you fresh greens year-round, no matter where you live. For more information, free resources, and gentle guidance, you can find us at growyourownvegetables.org. And to grow alongside other gardeners just like you, join our free community at GYOV.org. Settle in. You're going to enjoy this.
When you have a system in place, you are in control of exactly how much time you spend growing your own food, which makes that time 100% enjoyable and nourishing. And you can feel confident that things are working. So what I didn't know back then when I was when I was setting up this tracking system and measuring my time in the garden for that first month, what I didn't know is that I had started to create for myself a garden system that I could just simply replicate next year because I had tracked everything that I had done. So it was a formula. It was like a checklist. All I had to do was remove all that time waster stuff and simply copy and paste all the activities I had done that actually helped to produce the food onto this year's growing calendar, rinse and repeat, and it was easy as that. So that first year, remember, I had spent way more time thinking about my garden than actually growing food. I spent so much time wandering around in the garden, worrying about things going wrong. So when I tracked my time, I had actually accidentally discovered a shortcut to creating a tool that could eliminate all the time wasters so I could grow more food. So this tool is a roadmap for the entire growing season. And before the next growing season started, I could tell you what days of the week I would be growing food, how many minutes each day I would spend, exactly what I was going to plant, on what days I was going to plant, on what dates, I should say, I was going to plant, where I was going to plant those crops, when I was going to harvest, and I could also predict how much I was going to harvest, and I could tell you how many seeds I would order and how many baby transplants I would purchase from the farmer's market. It is a complete roadmap for the entire growing season. So this roadmap template, it's called, it's basically a planting schedule with a few more bells and whistles, and it's totally tailored to your specific growing conditions. And here it is on the screen, a little mini version of it. It's a little scary when you see it all at once, and farmers call this a crop plan. But when you build it piece by piece, you get the hang of it. So the key is here that if you plan ahead, basically you plan all of that ahead and then you put it in your calendar and you set reminders telling you exactly what to do each week. Now, you don't have to spend any time thinking about your garden because you've already got the plan, and your phone or whatever is going to beep and tell you what to do next. So you set it and then you forget it. This is a process I love because when we take up our precious brain space having to think about every little detail, then we don't enjoy it as much. And also we miss things because our head is too full of all the little details. So this is the way to put everything in one place so that you can set it and forget it and let your brain think about other bigger things, go out and, watch the garden go by. So basically during the growing season, I'm on autopilot for the growing season and my calendar alerts me to what I need to do when. All right. So the first step, if you're going to create a full roadmap for yourself, a crop plan for yourself, the first step is to begin by tracking your time to see what you're doing and tracking what you plant when so that next year you can do it again in a more simplified way. So that's your first step. So what you want to do is whatever you planted in the spring or whatever your beginning of your growing cycle is, you're going to write that down. You're going to mark how long it's going to be in the ground and then when you're going to harvest it. And then basically the next step is to decide what you're going to plant after you harvest that. And once that space opens up in your garden. Now, this process of going back and forth between this document and a drawing of where it fits in your garden, it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but you can do this. And what happens in this time is that when you create this full plan for the growing season and you build it step by step and you can visually see it all, what's going to happen is it's going to pay off every season because you can reuse it and you're maximizing every part of your growing space because you're planning ahead of time. So you know you're going to get your best harvest yet. All right. Now, the real time saver of having a roadmap is that it's a system that you can replicate year after year. So like I said, next year, your planning is already done every year after that too. So you're creating the weekly checklist for yourself, and that allows you to set up your weekly couple of minutes, whatever it is. That's your schedule. You know exactly what it is. You don't have to think about it. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. So this roadmap, it's powerful, and it's just one piece of my 7-step garden system. So I want to introduce you to the other parts of the system here with a quick story. So in my second growing season, I was all ready to grow with my roadmap in hand. And I looked back at all the records I had kept from the year before. And I was thinking to myself, like, this year feels different. It feels easier. And why is that? You know, yeah, I have the roadmap, but what's going on here? Why does it seem easier this year? Now, I showed you all the time data for how I spent my time after the garden was already designed and built and planted. But what I didn't show you was the setup. All right. So what about all that time planning and building the garden? When I compared the initial setup time with the amount of time that it took to grow food throughout the season, the weekly care of my plants. So the difference between these two numbers, it wasn't what I expected. So are you ready for this? This is an astonishing number to consider. So when you look at the number of hours that I spent the first year designing and the garden, getting all my materials, building the garden, and then planning what I wanted to plant where, all that added up to about 40% of my total time for the whole entire growing season. And I did it all in 4 days. That's it feels like a lot of work in a very short amount of time. And it basically what that was I took 1 day to clear out the site of all the debris. I took 1 day to move 3 truckloads of new soil because the soil here was not great in Brooklyn, and 1 day to plant everything for the season as well. So I took these 4 different days, and then after that, it was 30 weeks. That's how long the growing season was there in Brooklyn. So after that, it was 30 weeks of just small weekly tasks. All right. So after you design, build, and plant your garden, you're 40% of the way to garden success. That's astonishing. And if you build your garden right the first time, every season gets easier and easier because you reuse all that good work. But remember, when you're getting started, this can be tricky because you're not sure, you don't know what you don't know, right? So just keep in mind that hard work of setting it up, you only have to do it once. So spend some time and get it done right. And a lot of people with new growers, they remember, and like I did, I remembered all that hard work of that setup. And I felt like, oh, wow, I looked back and I was like, wow, my garden was a lot of work. But the second year, guess what? None of that happened. I just started planting. And so it doesn't have to be as hard as you think your second year and your third year. So if you've invested your time the first year to set it up right, that's going to pay off over time. All right. That setup makes the garden feel like hard work. It's a hurdle. All you have to do is pass that hurdle and you are there. You're so far on your path, right? Now, the other thing that can happen is that for some growers, if they don't get the garden set up right, then they have to fix it And then that feels like a lot of work. So that starts to make it feel like a lot of trouble to garden. So definitely take the time to set it up right the first time around. And I get it. I've had my share of garden letdowns, and that makes me question what my next steps are in my garden year to year. And sometimes I look back and I say, I want to change the setup. I totally get it. That's why a garden system is so helpful, because it helps the growing season run really smoothly, and it's not rigid. So basically what you can do, there's always a way to look at whatever you're doing with your garden once your garden system is set up, and then simplify it so that you can get the results you want with whatever time you have available to garden, and fit it into your schedule, right? So you are in charge. Your garden can be anything you want.
If you want to watch the full video about how to grow your own vegetables in minutes a week, check the link in the description. If you'd like more guidance on growing fresh, flavorful greens, even in small spaces, Stacey has put together a simple guide for you. You can download it for free at growyourownvegetables.org/growyourgreens. The link is in the description below. And if you'd like to keep learning alongside other gardeners just like you, we have a wonderful free community waiting for you. You can join us at GYOV.org. Thank you for spending this hour with us. We'll see you next week.